Donald Trump vowing to fight New York Attorney General Letitia James and her attempt to seize his properties. The former president's attorneys appealing that $454 million bond ahead of the Monday deadline. Trump telling Fox News Digital, quote, "I'll fight this all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court if necessary. They can't take away your property before you've had a chance to appeal the decision of a Trump-hating, incompetent judge who has been overturned more than any judge in the state." Matt Whitaker served as acting U.S. Attorney General under President Trump. He joins us now. Great to see you, Matt.
Hey, good morning.
So, it really is amazing when you step back and think about this. Bernie Madoff had a $10 million bond, and he defrauded thousands of people out of tens of billions of dollars. And Donald Trump defrauded no one. Everybody wanted to do business with him at the end of the deal, and he's facing a $554 million bond. Make this make sense to me.
Yeah, Charlie, I wish I could, but if the fact pattern for this case is that he took out a loan, he paid that loan back with interest, and somehow he is civilly liable now for this amount. It's an outrageous miscarriage of justice. It is inconsistent with our fundamental constitutional rights to due process. Prevention against excessive fines under the Eighth Amendment to the Constitution. So this case, I just think is completely outrageous, and he should and will continue to fight. And, hopefully he can find a court that's more sympathetic than Judge Engoron was.
It's almost like maybe Letitia James is trying to go after him for political purposes. Listen to this. Listen to this tape from when she was running for office.
No one is above the law, including this illegitimate president. And so I look forward to going into the office of Attorney General every day, suing him, defending your rights, and then going home.
Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the He's going to know my name personally.
President Trump cannot avoid justice in the great state of New York.
I mean, honestly, how is this even happening?
Well, you have, again, a rogue prosecutor like Letitia James who has, a political base that is in favor of her actions. And then you have a judge that in Manhattan that's willing to go along with it. No one is above the law. That's the one thing she's right on. But nobody is below the law either. And American citizens shouldn't be targeted individually for their political beliefs, which is exactly what's happening to Donald Trump in these blue jurisdictions. And it's just lawfare at its absolute worst. And again, if this continues and is allowed to happen by these appeals courts and the Supreme Court, then I think you're going to end up with a collapse of the American justice system, and the American people are not going to have faith in the system.
Well, exactly. Obviously, this has been a somewhat of a political boon for the president, especially with, clips like that of Letitia James clearly trying to make a political statement out of all of it. And I think ultimately she's going to wind up helping getting him reelected, at which point I hope her voters will hold her accountable for that. But in terms of the legal process, are those quotes from her, are they going to be actionable in a courtroom, in an appeal, or in how does this play out in the long run?
Yeah, certainly there'll be context for the appeal, but the appeal is so strong on its merits because again, you have no victim that complained about any of this alleged fraud. You have a business transaction or a series of transactions that involve just loans that were paid back with interest. And so I just think appeals court's going to look at this and say, where is the crime? Where is the fraud? And they're going to be very suspicious, especially since this penalty, this $454 million or whatever the number continues to grow by the day with interest calculations. There is no basis for that. There's nothing to tether it to. It's no multiple of anything. It's not the amount that anybody lost. And so I think that this number is completely arbitrary and capricious and just pulled out of thin air to punish Donald Trump and most likely to have some relation to the amount of liquid cash that he had previously reported on public reports when he was president.
Well, it clearly is an attempt to try to destroy him, both on a political in a political way and also in a personal way as well. Thank you so much, Matt Whitaker, for joining us.
Good to see you, Charlie.
Great to see you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.